2, 1. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan, and so this would be my first video for this thing. Trying to figure out where to go with all this, but I was kind of wanting to I think what I'll be doing with this starting out is just sharing my personal testimony of how I became a Christian, how I became to know, how I came to believe in Jesus Christ and everything, and really how I got to where I am today. And I'm sure we'll get into a whole lot of other things, but maybe that's where I'll begin. So yeah, so like I said, my name's Ryan. I currently live in Tennessee. So I was born in Kentucky. So one of the things I can say about my time as a young person in Kentucky, and this is kind of going from kind of just, I don't know, 3 and back as far as I can remember. One thing I can say is that I always felt like I was a little bit different than other kids. I had trouble socializing and things like that. I never could understand why I could never fit. And it was always this big thing, and it's kind of been this thing that I've carried with me throughout my life, and it's still something I have to deal with. Very recently, like just within just last year, I was actually exploring it, and I actually just got diagnosed with autism. So, which is just really kind of explains a lot of that. So with autism, I really dealt with a lot of things throughout my life. So it was always a big frustration. So let's see. When I grew up, as I was growing up, I went to a Catholic church. My parents started going to a Catholic church, or at least my mom mainly. My dad, I guess, had other ideas, and sounds like my grandmother, my mom's mom, would go to a Catholic church or something too as well. So it's kind of like the denomination I was brought up in. I went to a Catholic school. That's what it was called. Well, it's called St. Gabriel. But so yeah, some of the things I was taught there was a lot of the same stories you would hear in other places, on the Protestant side as well. Just Adam and Eve, how sin was then, that they sinned and all that stuff, and why sin was brought into the world and stuff. All the Bible stories, birth of Jesus and everything. I mean, there was some sort of but overall, I mean, the belief that I walked away with was that you still had to be good to go to heaven. There was the stories about Jesus, and there was something there about, okay, he's forgiven and this and that. Oh, okay. All right. I mean, he died for our sins, and because of that, everyone's forgiven or something like that. But you still had to be good. So it's just sort of like this. So there was something. So there was obviously something that we were taught, that when Jesus died on the cross that something changed. But it was not really explained very well how that actually worked. But but you still had to be a good person and all that stuff. Anyway, long story short, I went through school, elementary school, middle school. Like I mentioned, I had my issues. High school was pretty tough, because right around when I started high school, or at least midway through, we went through a big move from Kentucky to Tennessee, and for me it was kind of rough. It was like a reset. It was just like all my friends were gone, everything I built up was gone, and so yeah, it was not fun. So it was really like, I don't know how to say it. It was like I was sort of back to the state of being a little child, and I think that's sort of just the part of the autism that's coming to play. That's just like, now I just feel like a helpless child because I just don't know what to do in all these social situations. But I've learned how to do it with all the friends I've established. So there's that. So I was going through high school feeling really depressed. Let's see. Yeah, and then eventually, so I just remember high school was really bad, but when I got to college, I was kind of like, it was almost like a reset again. I was kind of back to that state of a helpless child or something, because it's like, okay, now everything's back to square one. So I went to college, had to go to another city, so I would be staying in that city, which was only about 45 minutes from where we lived. So if I ever wanted to visit at home, it was a 45-minute drive. So on my first night, I got to meet my roommate. His name was Jay, and he talked to me a lot about Christ and what he did and why he's important to us. And so yeah, when he explained it, there were a lot of things that started to make sense, because it was never really explained to me that, oh, you believe in Jesus Christ, he takes care, he forgives you of all your sins, he pays the price on the cross, and that he took those sins and you don't have them anymore. And you believe in Christ and you're free, and you have you're taken care of. You have your spirit is resurrected. You go back. You go to heaven. So yeah, I mean that. And so when I was in college, yeah, I mean, I was expecting going to college to have another round of high school 2.0 that I had, and just a lot of all the things I went through. But no, it was I had something else. So when I spent the whole a few days just thinking about what he said, just going to my classes and just pondering all that for a few days. And eventually I made that decision. I became a Christian. I said, okay, Jesus, I trust you, take my sins. I want to be forgiven. Forgive me for all my sins. Forgive me for everything I've done. And just take me. And that's what I did. So eventually, after doing that, kept getting to hear from my roommate about different things. There was a college group with some people on campus. They were called Alpha Omega. So yeah, I got to go there for a few times on Wednesday nights, and there were a few people there who ended up explaining some things to me as well, which really helped out. And it eventually I started learning more and more about Christ, God, and just everything that he teaches. And there were a lot of things I realized there were a lot of things that I thought that were not ever true, because before that time I never actually read the Bible or tried to learn what it actually says. It was just a lot of ideas that just from the world and everything mashed together, I guess. And so that was very helpful to get that clarity, to understand what God really thinks, which I think really helped. So going through college, I was making it pretty well for at least the first semester. Found out eventually my parents were going to get divorced around that time, which it wasn't fun hearing that. It wasn't the end all be all of everything I was experiencing. There were a lot of other difficulties I was having, but I'm sure that didn't help. Let's see, so after the first semester, my roommate Jay, he moved back to where he came. He was going to go continue his college down there, and I guess he was thinking about this girl, his girlfriend, a lot. So I guess that was part of a big motivator of his move. As for me, I got to do this rest of the second semester by myself, with the room to myself. I won't lie, the second semester was much harder. There were a lot of people at Alpha Omega that I got to talk to, and there were some people who helped with me, just sort of some friends who helped encourage me and everything, and just sort of I guess in some way they were like part of the discipleship in some ways, helping me learn and grow. Just people who have been Christians longer than me. But as far as everything goes, I was kind of just not feeling it. I felt like I don't know, I was just mentally preoccupied, because there were a few friends, but overall I felt like I didn't have a lot of friends. I still had a lot of the same issues that I dealt with my entire life, and I was getting very frustrated because I was not making any headway anywhere with that. And so I really had, so my mom suggested I took, after my first year of college, that I maybe take a break. And I think that was probably a good idea, because had I not, it's possible my grades would have continued to suffer with the way I was getting depressed. So the first year, that next year, following year, was really just mostly me at home figuring things out for myself and what I'm going to do. And a big part of that was just figuring out, finding where these people are, that where I'm going to find friends that I can have, because it's like I had no idea what to do. And I remember there was one day on a Saturday night where I was sort of just absolutely at my end there, and I just prayed to God out of pure desperation, just, God, find me some friends, find me these people who will actually be real friends with me. And so I went to church the next day, and for some reason I just decided, after service, I was just gonna sit there until something happens. It's like I'm not going to leave until something happens. Well, something did happen. Some lady approached me saying, "Hey there, would you like to go to a Sunday school class that we have going for college age people?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, okay." And I walked in, and I got to meet a whole bunch of new people. Got to meet there's the teacher there. And that was really good. Obviously, not everything happened at once, but that was a major step towards it was a major step in my journey. From that class, I came to know several people who really taught me and discipled me. His name was Jeremy, and another one was Daryl, and another one was Rob. So they all had different things they contributed. Some of the people my age, they had a bit of impact as well. And so our group was not always huge. It started at a decent size. It kind of dwindled just because there was this sort of a divide between two college groups, and I don't know what it was all about, but ours sort of was on sort of the low, the dwindling side somewhat, but there were still people who came. So yeah, there were a few core people in our group. There was, of course, me. There was one person named Christy, who was the daughter of Daryl that I mentioned. There was a guy a guy named Phil, or Philip. He moved down here from way up north, northwest New York. He came moving up down here. Yeah, and eventually our group consisted of a guy named Chris and a guy, and later on somebody named John. The core has kind of changed slightly over time, but it was mainly us. We were all pretty good friends. We would hang out, and of course, you know, we would meet in Bible studies and Sunday school classes and whatever for a while, good long time. So that happened for a good long time. So eventually things got a little bit to the point where we had to move on. I remember everyone was set. There were several times where people were saying, "Oh, sometime these people will you'll probably move on from these people." And even my mom said, just like, "You'll probably move on to these people." And several people were saying the same thing to one of us at some point, that it might happen eventually, and eventually it did. I heard it from my mom. I heard that from my mom, and Rob, I believe, said the same thing. And yeah, it happened eventually. It kind of just happened out of the blue. To be honest, it was actually very sudden. It was kind of, to be honest, it was not a very good feeling, but I guess it was God's way of saying, what I've done here is finished. It's time for everyone to move on. I think the thinking back, that was a very important part of my life. I've learned a great deal of lessons, but it's not an easy thing to think back on because of everything that happened. I would say that probably one of the big things that maybe triggered it coming apart is just really, one, God just decided it was time. Two, maybe it was just later on we were just sort of hanging out. We weren't really focused on God as much. It was just about us and our group. And which there were some unhealthy aspects of the things that were transpiring, and I'm kind of glad to be separated from that. So yeah, that's what I had to say about that. So 4 years of doing that, and eventually 4.5 years of us all together. Eventually we moved on, and we came to I just continued to do my studies at college. I resumed that. At the time, I did do 1 year back at I'll just say MTSU. I did 1 more year there, and I did kind of go to this Christian's college after that year, which I don't know if it was the best decision, because they only had 2 degrees. One had to do with ministry, the other was just some general degree, but it was kind of, I remember Daryl was sort of subtly introducing me to the place, and but you know, I liked it because it was closer to my friends that I'm built, rather than being all the way out in Murfreesboro. But who knows, maybe that wasn't the best thing. Maybe if I was a little more stronger, I could have continued at MTSU. Who knows? Who really knows? So eventually, as I was doing my work at this new Christian college, I eventually figured out, okay, I like programming, I like IT stuff, I like computers, I'm going to pursue something in IT. I had almost decided to pursue something with I don't know, game development, and I did kind of seek out information from a place called Full Sail, because I was about to investigate that, and I kind of just, when they called me asking if I wanted information, I just kind of said, no, I don't want information. I don't know, I just sort of had a bit of a cold feet about it, because I guess maybe I was not confident about the future of that. So I still have those aspirations to this day about game development, but I pursued something with IT, got some type of Microsoft certification, went to took some classes to get it, and graduated from college, got that certification, and yeah, I went to IT. And so after doing all of that, eventually moved to Memphis. So I was living in Middle Tennessee, Nashville area, and then eventually I moved to Memphis. So after I got my certification, it took a little while, but eventually I got a job in Memphis. So I moved out there, and that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother slew of things and events in my life, and that'll be something I can get into later. Until then, I'm going to stop the video here. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll get into the rest of the story later, and maybe get into some other things. Thank you all for watching. Bye.